Right now, it is rage against apathy. You have one subset of the population that is enraged with certain things that are happening on a governmental level. And they're saying, don't you see what's happening? People are losing their jobs. People are being deported. Wake up. And you have another subset of the population that is like, well, you didn't care when I lost my job because I wouldn't take a certain medical intervention, we'll just say. And you didn't care when I was impacted by that decision, and you called me crazy, and you called me this and that. There is this lingering resentment where people from the other side just don't care about the rage of people on the opposite side because they feel like they were never heard. It's all fueled by anger because the things that one side feels are important, the other side just doesn't care about, and vice versa. Nothing can survive in that ecosystem. Welcome to Set the Table, a show where we bring together everyday people from opposite sides of the cultural and political aisle for kind conversations about tough topics. I'm your host, Peace Ike. In a world where shouting matches have replaced dialogue, we're creating something different, something human. For the past several years, I've been gathering complete strangers around dinner tables to talk about race, religion, politics, you name it. Now we're bringing those conversations to you, alongside insights from thought leaders and curious minds who are making sense of our divided world and showing us a better way to engage it. So pull up a chair. There's room for you at the table. Well, hello and welcome to the Set the Table podcast. I am so excited to finally be recording this episode 1. And if that music sounded familiar to you, you are not crazy. That is the amazing Joy Ike, none other than my sister. And if you have never heard her music, you are in for a treat. She has an extensive discography online. So please go find her and enjoy. And of course, that was none other than myself on percussion. Y'all know I am a drummer at heart, so shameless plug there. But really, it felt right to intro this podcast with that song, which is called Wearing Love, because that really is the heart behind this podcast. And I'll share more about that as we go along. This was not the plan for 2025. I did not expect to be starting a podcast this year. But if you know me, you'll know that my life is full of a lot of serendipitous moments. And so there was like a season for several weeks where I could not go 1 week without at least 2 people saying, you should start a podcast. And it all culminated one Sunday morning when I got a text from a dear friend of mine. She said, "Hey, I have a gift for you." And so we met up and she handed me a box, and in the box was a professional microphone. And she said, "I don't know why, but I think you're supposed to have this." So it was one of those moments when I was like, okay, God, I hear you. I get it. We're doing this thing. And so here we are. This is not a far cry from what I'm used to. Many of you guys know about the community work that I've been doing for the past several years, which has been all about placing myself smack dab in the middle of the most uncomfortable conversations and trying to be a voice of rationality that can translate what person A is saying to person B and what person B is saying to person A, so that both people are not just talking at and over one another, but dialoguing with one another and leaving with a deeper understanding and less anger. And so this podcast is all about making a space for tough topics and kind conversations. So what you're going to experience on this journey with me, well, you're going to get table exchange episodes. And those episodes are going to be me bringing people together from across the aisle, people who don't agree, people who voted differently, people who see the world differently, bringing them to the table to have respectful dialogue, because we are at a place we've never been before in society. We are so divided. It is a straight up dumpster fire of division. And I think many people feel like we're too far gone. there is a spirit of hatred and anger that has worked its way into every sector, every subset of culture. It's raging in government. It is raging in families, disconnected families, lost family relationships, friendships being cut off. It feels like we've maybe reached a point of no return. And I think what we have to understand right now is that right now it is rage against apathy. You have one subset of the population that is enraged with certain things that are happening on a governmental level. And they're saying, don't you see what's happening? People are losing their jobs. People are being deported. Wake up. And you have another subset of the population that is like, well, you didn't care when I lost my job because I wouldn't take a certain medical intervention, we'll just say. And you didn't care when I was impacted by that decision, and you called me crazy, and you called me this and that, so they can burn it all down. And so there is this lingering resentment where people from the other side just don't care about the rage of people on the opposite side because they feel like they were never heard and they were ridiculed and called all sorts of names and things like that, conspiracy, this and that and that, And so when you have two inflammatory sides that just don't care about the other, there is no reason that can be had. And the reality is that it's all fueled by resentment. It's all fueled by anger because the things that one side feels are important, the other side just doesn't care about, and vice versa. Nothing can survive in that ecosystem. It's so toxic right now that I really thought to myself, what can I actually say or do that would bring anything restorative to this moment that we're living in? When I say I was very intimidated about this work, I'm very intimidated about it because people are very sensitive right now. And for good reason. So I don't want to just stoke the flames. I want to produce constructive solutions. Believe it or not, I think that's what I'm going to be doing. And so this is an opportunity for me to bring what I've been doing in private to a public platform. For the past 7 years, I've been in the business of bringing people to the literal table. I ran a nonprofit in that time. I opened my doors to strangers of all backgrounds, race, religion, gender, political leaning, to come to my house, bring a meal, let's sit down. We're going to have a potluck style dinner. Bring a question, write it down on a piece of paper, put it in a hat. And when you come, we're going to sit down, we're going to meet and greet. We're going to get to know each other on a human level. And then we're going to pick these questions out of the hat and we're going to talk about them over dinner. And guys, when I tell you that this was the most life-giving experiment, that there were so many beautiful moments that happened around the dinner table, I have a hard time expressing just how impactful these past 7 years have been. And that's what led me not only to this podcast, but to this new endeavor I'm on. Some of you might know Set the Table is more than a podcast. It is a movement. And so I am now devoting my life to the movement of cultural restoration, healing a divided culture. That's what it's about. We're not all going to agree, but there's a place you come to of understanding and empathy that I believe unlocks these aha moments for us where we realize that the people that we really think are our enemy, the people that are quote unquote ruining our lives, are simply trying to survive themselves. And there is an ecosystem of polarization that is working really hard to keep us from recognizing that. And guys, when I say I've been in the world of psychology of polarization, the psychology of division for almost 6 months now, I mean it. I have been sleeping and breathing statistics, and what I'm learning, it has blown my mind. It literally has almost taken the scales off of my eyes to see that we've all been very victimized by all the powers and the systems that be our journalism, our news, our social media. They are literally working in conjunction as a well-oiled machine to keep us hating each other. And when you get the full picture, and I can't wait to share more about this with you guys over time, but when you get the full picture, it disarms you because everyone can meet in the middle when they realize they've been a victim. And so that is truly the approach that I want to bring to this. That's the heart I want to bring to this. Along with our table exchange episodes, you're also going to get table thoughts episodes where I'll be bringing on experts and thought leaders and really just interesting people with interesting thoughts around all of it: sociology, psychology, politics. Um, I am going to try my hardest to be unbiased. I have very strong convictions, y'all. If you know me, you know that. But the only thing stronger than my convictions is my love for people. And so I've really learned how to keep my convictions at bay and listen with curiosity and listen with the goal of understanding, because I truly believe that everybody has a piece of the puzzle. Everybody's experiences and stories are part of the collective understanding of us as a society. So this really is a teaser episode. This is an explainer episode. This is a get excited episode, just giving you guys a little taste of what's to come. For those who don't know me, let me give you a quick snapshot of how I ended up here, because I think it would be helpful for us to get to know each other a little bit. So let me introduce myself. If I haven't already, my name is Peace Ike. And yes, I think it's God's nod towards humor that he named me Peace. And I just happen to be in the business of conflict resolution, mediation, de-escalation, connection building, bridge building. I didn't name myself. I can promise you that. I'll show you my birth certificate. But I think it does confirm that there is power in a name. So parents, when you name your children, definitely think about who you want them to become. I grew up in an immigrant family. My family's from West Africa. We're from Nigeria. I'm from the Igbo tribe, if you're familiar. It's the third largest tribe in Nigeria, passed only by the Yoruba tribe and the Hausa Fulani tribe. My upbringing was very different from many of my friends. I never quite fit in American culture. My parents spoke a different language at home. And so I always felt like I was between two worlds, going to school and never really feeling like one of the American kids, and then coming home and being too Americanized to feel like a good Nigerian little girl. So, there was this bicultural duality that I think caused me to see the world differently than most kids. And so I've always kind of grown up feeling like I'm on the outside looking in, like observing culture, trying to make sense of the world, but not necessarily feeling impacted by what's happening in the world. I have felt like an expert people watcher. That sounds really creepy, but really from a young age, I was always watching, discerning, and understanding the world around me. So I've had a very unique experience of being American. Add another layer to that, as a West African, I've had a very unique experience of being Black in America. Many of you might know that being Nigerian American and being African American are very different things. And so I've been in the middle in many, many ways. And that has just positioned me to have a very original take of Western society. Fast forward to my adult years, and I got my bachelor's in rehab technology from University of Pittsburgh, went on to get my doctorate in physical therapy from University of Pittsburgh, and then I went on to work as a physical therapist for about 15 years, did some specializing in ortho and sports rehab, then moved into the world of home health care, going to people's houses and taking care of mainly older population geriatric folks. But, in all that time, I just always felt like there was a greater calling. Even going into people's houses and taking care of their bodies, they tell you their whole life story. And before you know it, you're helping them solve their problems, you're coaching them, you're counseling them. And I think I realized that, I've always been doing this very hands-on work, but what's driven that has really been the heart work. and wanting to see people heal and whole and restored. So somewhere along that journey, I ended up creating a nonprofit here in Germantown called the Gathering Place Philly. And the whole purpose for the Gathering Place was to create a space for healthy communal flourishing. And this was really fueled by two things: my love for God and my love for people. And how could I bring those two things together? I believe you love God well when you love people well. So I've been a musician for most of my life. I spent the better part of 15 years touring with my sister as a percussionist and drumming with other musicians and touring with them as well, and playing for different audiences every night. And so I really had such practice in connecting with different people from different backgrounds. And so tying that all back into the Gathering Place, when I started opening my doors, we started off with concerts and open mic nights. I was like, what better way to connect with people? Everybody loves music. But before I knew it, I was doing movie nights and dialogue nights. And that's what led to our dinner and discussion nights I was talking about earlier. And because there was so much transformation happening around the dinner table, I was like, listen, this can't stay here. This has to go out. This has to be expanded. And that's what led me to Set the Table. So you're at the beginning of that journey. And the latest steps in that journey have been me going on to get my executive coaching certification for some of the company culture formation work I'll be doing, which I'll share a little bit more about in a second, followed by my specialization in conflict management, as well as culture-driven team building. So it is time to get to work. You're going to learn a lot more, but one thing I want to let you know is that everybody is invited to the table. I have built this out in a way that everyone can find a place, whether it's following along this podcast or following our social medias or signing up for our newsletter, where you're going to get tools and resources and just nuggets of wisdom that may bring some relief to some of the frustration that we're all feeling in this very divided state. That's great. But maybe you want to come out to one of our workshops. Guys, our very first workshop is happening in about a week in Center City, Philadelphia on April 26th, Saturday, 10 a.m. And there are still a few seats left. Guys, first of all, I made this one free because that's how much I believe in this. I wanted to offer this free before we do any ticketing, before we take it on the road. I packed these workshops chock full of interactive, engaging, immersive activities and videos and animations and breakouts. And guys, I really believe that these workshops are going to give you such insight into the world around you, and also great pause into how we experience the world around us. I believe you're going to leave different than you came. So if you're not doing anything next Saturday, there are a few seats left. Please go to setthetable.org/workshops and then click attend and take one of those final seats, please. And especially for you community leaders, faith leaders, people who are already doing good work in your city, this workshop is really essential for you to bring to your people, because it is going to enact real lasting change. And one of the things that I've discovered I really am passionate about is building healthy company culture. And this is probably going to be a whole nother episode, but you guys know we are in a DEI transition. We'll put it that way. Some believe it's a good thing. Some believe it's a bad thing. I have thoughts around how we've been doing diversity training in the workspace and the impact and results that has had. And I just believe that there is a better way to encourage collaboration from a place of self-motivation. I think that sometimes we try to evoke change by mandating change, and it causes performative actions, performative results. And I think that's why, statistically speaking, the DEI initiatives were not having the impact that many hoped they would have. So I have put a lot of time into creating a workplace program that I think is really going to bring a lot of collaborative healing to many corporate spaces. Really excited to offer that. And hey, if that's up your alley, you can go to setthetable.org/corporate and learn more about it. And feel free to reach out if you want to have an exploration call about those services. So I'm going to keep it short. Again, this is just an introduction episode. Our next episode, I'm really excited, is going to be a table exchange episode. Our podcast guests are people who voted very differently in this last election, and they're going to come to the table, and I'm going to ask them some very thought-provoking questions that will hopefully spark some really healthy dialogue. So come back for that. I am excited to share episode 2 with you guys. And so I really, really invite you to join me on this journey. Make sure that you get connected. Find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube at Set the Table Official. And also we're on X at Set the Table HQ for headquarters. And yeah, if you're listening to this podcast, you are a part of the community and I welcome you. So with all that said, I am so glad you're here. Hey, if you want to get a glimpse of what one of our dinners look like, you can go to setthetable.org/join the community, and you'll be able to see some of the action going on right there on the screen. Well, this has been a great little teaser episode. So welcome. And together, let's set the table for a healthier, more whole society. I'll see you next time.